But hey, up next, Lisa Haisha. You guys have heard from Lisa many times, 7, 8 different times. Met Lisa maybe 5 years ago. She's married to kind of a famous guy, Lee Aronson, the creator of The Big Bang Theory and 2.5 Men. And she's hosted a couple of our inner circles back in the day at her house. But in her own right, she is amazing. She has her own Amazon show. She has traveled the world, 60, 70 countries, doing philanthropic work. She's a producer. She's an actress. She's been in 3 of our books. And every time I think I know the 20 different angles we could go, the time she spent with Madonna, or, just all these stories, I hear something new. So I never know what to expect from Lisa. Last time she was here, she brought a film crew, and she was filming for her new documentary that she did at our inner circle, had us part of it. And she's had amazing guests for that. So I'm looking forward to catching up. But welcome, Lisa. How are you? I think you're muted. There we go. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Here, I'm good. I'm really good. I'm so glad I caught the tail end of that. Glenn was just amazing.
So you just had a birthday, right? 2 days ago?
Did. Mm-hmm.
So that's cool that you're joining us, because I'm sure you've been celebrating, but maybe not as much as you would have.
Not as much
with
COVID. Big bash. Now the big bash was me and Ava and Lee. So very different.
Yeah. So we can go back and forth, or if you have something you want to share, you always have the forum. Just go for it.
Well, I wanted to start off sharing something that I read on my birthday, and I think it's really beautiful, and I think it'll help ground whatever we're about to talk about. So it's a Hopi elder's prophecy. You have been telling people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour, and there are things to be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? What are your relationships? Are you in the right relationship? Where is the water? Know your garden. It is time to speak your truth. Create your community. Be good with each other. Do not look outside yourself for a leader. Then he clasped his hands together, smiled, and said, "This could be a good time. There is a river flowing now very fast. It is great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel they are being torn apart and will suffer greatly. Know the river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river, keep our eyes open and our heads above the water. And I say, see who is in there with you and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey come to a halt. The time of the lone wolf is over. So gather yourselves, banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary, and that all that we do now must be done in sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones that we've been waiting for." So that just struck me so strongly because it's so true. We are the ones we've been waiting for. And what this time out has done for me in the beginning was like, yes, a vacation, because I book myself so much. It's like from 6 a.m. till midnight, I'm so busy. I organize it in blocks, but still it's like there's very little time just for me. And I'm a person who needs a lot of me time because I'm always creating, and that's when I get my downloads to go out in nature and just hug a tree, be at the beach, walk around. And when all that was cut off, it became a place where all my stuff, all my everything that I had that was organized and structure kind of just flew out the window, because all of a sudden I have a daughter that I'm homeschooling, and I've got just chaos all around me. I've got friends and family members who are calling saying, oh my God, this happened. I lost my job. Will you help me with this? Will you help me with that? Will you help me create this? And will you coach me? I have past clients calling because I took a time out from working with people. Can I start working with you again? And I'm like, okay, sure. And I'm like, wait, all my time is taken. But right now, a new consciousness is born. So we have to think about, who do we want to emerge as? So you could stay focused and say, oh my God, all this drama is being put on my lap again. Or you could say, okay, boundaries. I think I've mentioned boundaries to you guys before, but boundaries are so important, and especially at this time. And I know we want to help everyone and everybody is in need, but we do have to take care of ourselves first in order to really still create, because it is our life when we have one life. And as this says, you're going to go into the river and you're going to meet all your like-minded souls and creators. And don't be afraid. This is the time to jump in and discover, who are you? Who do you want to be in this life? I know this group is a high-end group where we really are into goal setting and becoming who we're meant to be. But I think it's a time to reflect and say, are we still being honest with ourselves? Are we still in the rat race or running on that treadmill and not taking time out going, am I really going in the right direction? Who do I want to be? Is this the right choice? So I want to go over this of bringing meaning and value into our life. The biggest thing is mastering yourself. And how do you do that? First of all, what stops us is negativity. We feel like, oh, maybe we're not good enough, or this person did something to us, or this situation happened to me and I'll never get out of this rut, or I lost everything, or my relationship broke up, I'm never going to meet anybody. And when you have those thoughts in your head, it's very hard to move forward because you're living in your past. And when you're living in your past, what happens? You fall into comfort addiction, which is where you just want that drink, you want to relax, you want to sleep in, you don't want to do the hard work, you just want comfort because we feel like we're suffering, or we feel like, this is happening to everyone. Everyone's just watching Netflix all day long, so it's okay, it's a free pass. And it is. I think there is a time in life where you have to give yourself that self-nurturing. This is a very strange time, and a lot of us are putting too much pressure on ourselves. From people I've been talking with, my really ambitious friends, and the people that are in the documentary, like the Jack Canfields and Byron Katie's, all of them were saying, they got into some of the same ruts of, let me relax. And then, oh, I can't relax because I have so much work to do. So there's got to be that balance that we're saying, okay, how do I love and nurture myself more than ever before? Because all of our demons are coming up, being in close quarters with other people, and fear, maybe losing a lot of your money in the stock market and losing your job, or your loved ones losing everything. And you're sitting there, how can I be of service? So we really have to take care of us first. And then what that happens is sometimes it falls into depression, and then you start getting lethargic, and then you start getting into self-doubt of who am I, what am I? So we've got to eradicate all of that and get into the self-love. So it's aligning yourself in a way to help you overcome those obstacles. So how you do that is, what I always teach is meditation. You got to sit back and really align yourself with your thoughts. Just close your eyes and write down whatever is coming up. What is triggering me? Where's my fear coming from? How, I know you want to be a superhero for everyone, but what is reasonable? And really start to figure out your life in that way. And I think it's a time to say, who is important and who is stealing my time? Who are the vampires in my life, and who do I really want to give to? Because that's so important. I always say, since I'm a traveler, that you could either be a traveler or a tourist, and there's a big difference there. And I think in our life right now, that's what it is. Do you want to be a traveler or a tourist in your life? Meaning, do you want to sit there and plan every little thing? Or do you want to just be a traveler and say, let me just sit back and allow for things to unfold? And I think we need to take the time to do that a little bit. Really take the time to take those bubble baths and listen to just peaceful music, and sit in silence and welcome the silence. because now we all get to reinvent ourselves and we get to reemerge as the new us. So that's what I feel we should do right now. And if Kyle, you want to ask a few questions, you could pop on in.
Yes, definitely. And love that, Lisa. You know, and I just want to point out something. We heard it with Les yesterday, and Todd and Robert today, and Greg and Glenn, and we're hearing it with Lisa, and they're just sharing, right? Jim Rohn would say, when what you say is the tip of the iceberg of what you know, right? It's just, you didn't know what you were going to say. I didn't know what I was going to ask you, right? But you're just sharing from the heart and channeling what's going on. And so really appreciate that. And you feel the freedom to do that.
Well, yeah, prophecy just really hit me. It's like, God, we're all so hard on ourselves, especially during this time. So many people are in such fear, including myself. I went, oh, wow. Everything I was doing, I just built up my, speaking overseas. I'm booked in Berlin, Barcelona, London, Madrid. All that's gone. Israel was a possibility too. And I've been doing that the past 2 years, and it's like, boom, all that income, all the work that I did to prepare. But then it's like, oh, wow, if I'm going to be a traveler instead of a tourist, what's opening up? What's opening up for all of us? It's a new way of looking at life, and it's giving us the time out to really explore our inner and explore what it means to have community and who's in your life, and are they the right community that you want? I've just been working with a few people that have been in the wrong relationships and so afraid of leaving. And then again, this thing of, the elders say we must let go of the shore and push off into the middle of the river, keep your eyes open and our heads above water. It's like, that's so true. Everyone's hanging on to, this is who I am. This is my identity. It's like, what happens if you let go? And what happens is miracles are going to happen, because you're going to be so much more open to love in so many different ways into creation. Once I allowed myself to go, okay, stop, let me balance myself again. I don't have to take every call or carve out time on Saturday or Sunday to receive calls from friends in fear or family members in fear who are saying, Lisa, help me, I need this, I need that, or da, 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 da. It's like, you can only be a lifeboat for so many. So it's like, how can I help everyone in a way that I can? And it's just the balance. It's like, wow, we do have control if we're grounded in ourselves.
Speaking for myself, I hadn't really talked much about this at all. But during this whole time, I have felt really centered. And I think a big part of it was just Jim Rohn's influence. They asked Jim Rohn, what do you think is going to happen in the future? He said, opportunity mixed with difficulty. Like, we're going through a difficult time, but it's not new. I mean, this is just part of history. And it's always different, but it's not new. And I think having a meditation practice, having things that are more important than trying to build a big business, those things can be very centering. And so I suspect the same is true for you. But then you do have a lot of people. So give me, when you look at your world, and you're in Sherman Oaks, right? You're right in the center of Hollywood. When you look at kind of your inner circle and then you go a step out, are most people in a pretty good place, or has this really been a challenging time?
It's been a very challenging time. I have a big outreach, so I have friends from Republican friends, Democratic friends. I work with teenagers and 20-somethings, so their perspective. I have a daughter who's turning 12 in a few days, so her perspective, all of a sudden homeschooling and being cut off from all your friends was really hard, all your activities that you do. So then it became homeschooling. So I had like this full-time job of, did you do your homework? Did you do your homework? Then I got COVID. She got COVID. So we were out for 3 weeks. And then I actually enjoyed that process, which sounds weird, but that was the first time where I had to stop, because I was still going, oh, wow, time out. Let me finish everything I'm doing. I could edit all day. I could write the openings and the extras and all this stuff. I'm saying, this is cool. I got to erase all these responsibilities from my calendar and events. I'm like, awesome. And then slam. I'm like, something's not right here. And then.
What was it pretty obvious to you when you got COVID and you got tested?
They're not allowing testing. So someone said, you got to call the hospital and do it. So I called Encino Hospital, and they said, I'm sorry, but unless you're over 65 or a medical person, or person on the front lines, we can't test you. So I kept talking to them about this and that, and then he said, you know what, I called the hospital and said, friend's coming through, let her in. And so I just did the drive-through, and they did the test, and I got home within 15 minutes. Then a couple days later, they said, yes, you're positive. And then it was like, okay, so now I get to experience what I was fearing to get, and everyone handles it differently. My husband was freaked out. He's like, hasn't left his house in 52 days. And he's the guy that wears the gloves and the mask wherever if he ever goes out. He's just been here a few times and that's it. But I'm sort of in the middle of the road going, I'll go to the store, I'll wear a mask, but I'm still going to go out and exercise. I'm still going to have friends, but 6 feet away outside in the backyard and that kind of thing. So now I really had to stop. And I had the night sweats and the chills, and I was having hallucinating, my dreams were just like I was on ayahuasca or something for 3 nights, and the dry cough and all that. It really made me slow down. So I got my journal. I just put on some great groovy music every day, journaled what I was feeling, journaling my thoughts. And I truly told all my friends I can't talk for these couple of weeks, and took it off. And that was like a silent retreat. And that's when I went, wow, all these things are coming up. And it's like, I'm going to do this a little differently. I took that, but I don't really want that anymore. That's not me. And I really reorganized. And that's when I got really grounded. So it was a huge benefit to me. And then I got rid of the fear of, oh my God, what if I get COVID? It's like, okay, for most people, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And
you bring up a good point. We don't have to go there, but the statistics are so skewed because most people that have had it haven't been tested, because you can't get tested. In Texas, you really can't get tested. We had a doctor that's over all the hospitals, and he said, listen, unless you can't breathe, don't come. You'll be okay. And unless you're at risk. So just think of all the tens of thousands of people that have had it, that have gotten better, that aren't even part of the numbers. So I know you guys are pretty much on lockdown there, but we won't go there. But do you know how you got it?
I think from my daughter, because she was coughing a lot the last couple of days of school.
Okay.
For about 2 weeks. So she wasn't tested. So she's not counted either. And I never left the house until that point. I never left the house, and I got it. So I assume I got it from her. And then David was here helping, editing and all this.
Right.
But I think he's asymptomatic because he never got it. And he kept saying, give it to me. I want you're crazy. So we sat together and worked, and he never got it. So he wasn't counted either. So yeah, their numbers are very skewed. But I think if you take into account who you are, make sure you now it's a time that we have to take care of our bodies, body, mind, spirit. We really have to take care of ourselves, get rid of inflammation, get rid of, whatever is going on. If you have diabetes or whatever it is, really take the time out to help yourself. Because I realized through this, nobody's there to really help you. Hospitals are there, but barely. It's like, we can't even see you. And then I talk them into it. So, but even if I didn't, I knew I had it regardless. But, I thought I take care of myself, I'll get better. So it wasn't a fear of dying or anything, but it was, listening to everyone else's fear that starts to invade your consciousness. And once you realize, wow, I was sitting there in fear of this, and now I got it. So why do we stay in fear? What is fear? And, if you think of fear as your power, pain as your power, then it shifts everything. Because after that happened, it was like, okay, now I feel strong. I feel brave. I could talk to other people who are really freaking out about getting it and talk to them from a completely different perspective.
Love that. So when you were here in Dallas in December for the Inner Circle, and again, you have this back issue, you kind of keep getting these reminders to slow down, right? But you were working on your documentary, which sounds amazing. So is that still in progress? Tell us about that.
Yeah. yeah, what happened was I was going to do 90 days to get into great shape, mind, body, heart, soul, but I always get injured for working out. So yes, I got injured there. Then I got back on, track, and then COVID hit. I was like, Jesus, what is it in my consciousness that says I'm stopping you from doing that? And if you look at all of us, we all have blocks somewhere. If we don't like something, we could create excuses or create real things, manifest them to prevent you from getting that goal, because something in ourselves feeling like we don't deserve it or we shouldn't have it or whatever. So I'm really looking at that going, how come anytime I start something when it comes to physical fitness that I get slammed? I mean, it's consistent. It's like you get 6 weeks and slammed, then it's hard to get back on the horse and get going again constantly.
And
But
the documentary specifically, tell us about what the, some of the guests you've had on, some of the cool experiences, and what you're trying to create from it.
well, I think before COVID, I thought times were tough for people. And so many people were going through this. I just think because of what's going on in the world, regardless of what's happened recently. And there's a lot of confusion, a lot of chaos, and a lot of fear of who do we trust, the unknown. So I thought, let me find legends of thought leaders that have really been through it all, have been, in this arena for 30 years, like the Jim Rohns, who really have made a difference. And when you talk to hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, during 30 years, you really have something to say, I feel. So I thought, let me talk to these and have a one-on-one and get their opinions on what's going on in our world, about health, about mindfulness, meditation, and then do the process with them so I could grow from it. And like Byron Katie, it's always like the power of your word, the power of your thoughts, and the 4 questions. And just ask yourself these, and it really helps with everything. It calms you down. Similar to what I teach with the imposters, it's like, which character is taking over your life and being your mouthpiece for you, and that could destroy your life. Jack Canfield was talking about success, and how he started out, sweeping floors, and how he had this strong mission. Then he started telling stories, teaching, then telling stories, and everyone wanted his stories. And then he said, oh, let me write this book. So learning that success doesn't come from, oh my God, I got to be successful, or I want to be a star, or I want to be a millionaire. It comes from your heart. It comes from, what do I want to contribute into the world? And what change do I want to make? What do I want my legacy to be? When you come from that point, everything unfolds for you in a special way than it would otherwise. I didn't come to these people that I didn't know. I've never met Jack or Byron or some of the other people in it, but I sent them an email saying, this is what I want to cover, and this is why I want to interview you. And then they said, okay. It's not like, oh, I'm doing this and I need it to be a success, so I need you in it. So it's like, it really taught me from working with these masters that it really is you, and it's your vibration, it's your energy that you put forth when you're meeting somebody, even if you're working with them as if they're your client, or if they're your teacher, or if they're your colleague or friend. The way to get what you need is by vibrating at a certain level and a higher level. And the way you vibrate is through meditation and being silent and calm and not letting all the distractions of life get to you. I mean, it was really hard. I got 3 extra weeks to turn in Ava's homework, but it was very hard disciplining a child and keeping, your life structured and dealing with all the outside elements of those you love coming in saying, help, I'm in fear. So if you break it down and you go in meditation, you get to be that grounded person. And instead of taking calls throughout the day, blocking out time, saying, oh, I could talk during this block of time and this block of time, so your day's not completely interrupted constantly. So, and working with Wim Hof, he taught me about the breath work, and you could go to his website and it's right there. He teaches it, but just doing the breath work and taking a couple of cold baths when I had COVID. I got ice, dumped it in. David got ice, and just sitting in the ice bath going, okay, this is going to reduce inflammation. This is going to do this after doing the breath work. That really helped ground me. That really helped bring me back into the present, back into who I am, not a victim, not sick. And oh my God, I'm sick. I didn't go around doing that. It was like, wow, what am I experiencing now? Let me write that down. How can I use this in my future? If you can get over this, what can you get over? And how can you be in charge of your life. Now is a time more than ever that you have to be in the driver's seat of your life. You cannot allow others to drive it. So you have to set up systems in your life. Like, how can I be healthier? You know, I got all the lion's mane, the cholera, the wheatgrass powder, you know, all these things, the lemon, hot water, and really hydrating, and what really helps you detox and helps with inflammation, and it just goes away. The doctor said, take medicine here or pain pill. I'm like, no, 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 I don't want to do that. I want to do it naturally, just to, you know that what you put in your body, what thoughts you put in your mind has a tremendous amount on your healing and the outcome of things. So if you go through life like that, you won't have fear and you just jump in.
Love that. Yeah. And so when you had come to Dallas and your back went out, Amy had done some work with you as well, and you were filming that the whole time. And so you really turned it into this daily, almost like reality TV process. And it was really cool. And it sounds like you guys are on pause right now.
Yeah.
But are you still looking at releasing that later
Oh,
in the year?
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. So it's just a little on pause right now. Then we'll get back to it. We have a first version edited, so that's good. So now it's just re-looking at it, and with UIs, giving it to a focus group and getting it back and then redoing it, you know, whatever changes. Yeah. But
And
it,
so,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It was a great process to go through, and like, just with the back going out, instead of not coming to Dallas, it was like, go and see what's open. You know, then I met Amy, and Amy's work is incredible. And it's like, oh, this is now a technique you could use. And I meet Wim Hof, and he's like, oh, do this. Here's another technique to use. And, you know, so you're constantly learning and growing. You don't let life's challenges stop you. Use them as a springboard to go to where you're supposed to be, because it happens for a reason.
So Lisa, you have so many different interests. I mean, you're a world-class coach. You're a film producer. You travel the world doing philanthropic work. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, you have stories of orphanages and really making a change in people's lives, humanitarian. So is that just part of how you're wired? You think you have a lot of just different things going on at the same time? Or there seasons you get really focused on specific things?
I think there's seasons. Yeah, I think I was doing the orphanages a lot from 28 to like 40. Then it tapered off a little through my 40s. It wasn't as much, but during those years, it was like 4 months of my life, you know, going around traveling and living in these different places. Because I think, you know, I grew up in a Middle Eastern family, and I think you don't get to know who you are. So the traveling and being of service meant a lot to me. When I just would travel, it would feel a little more empty. I felt like I needed mission work. And it helps you connect to the people. It helps you connect to the country. Coffee Ground Reader in Iraq said, anytime you go to a country, it's not what you could get from a country, it's what you leave to a country that matters. So when people go, oh, you went to Italy, how was it? Oh, this is a souvenir I got, and oh my God, I learned about this new recipe, I learned this. It's like, no, what did you leave the country? And then that's where the power is, and that's where you start feeling connected. And I think throughout, you know, your childhood and high school, college, you get so many things that have happened to you, so many stories, things that hurt you, being bullied or being teased or not being good enough or smart enough or whatever. And I think we all start to create a story of how we're not likable, or, you know, whatever our issues are. Even if we like ourselves, we know it's like all your skeletons in your closet. You know all these things about you that you're hoping nobody else finds out. Even if they're minor, it's all your fears about really how you think of yourself. And most people, I found, don't like themselves, and they have a lot of things that they did in their past that they have shame and guilt for, and that's what's holding them back, because they're putting all their energy into their past instead of focusing on the now and what their future will be. So being of service is, and you don't have to travel like I did, but just being of service in your community or whatever, it's volunteering helps you connect to your core self. I think your inner child. And I think that helps you in whatever you do. Because once I started doing that, I didn't know where I wanted to go. Then all of a sudden someone said, oh, this is a book, you know, because I was keeping a journal about it. Then, oh, here's a book. Then I said, okay, I don't know what to do with this book. Then I met somebody, and then Lee, my husband, said we should publish this book. So now all of a sudden we published this book, and then we passed it out to our friends. I said, oh, my kid's at this school, my kid's at that school. Can we take the book? Will you guest speak at these schools? And all of a sudden I became a speaker. I never set out to be a speaker or a writer or an author, but it's, so I found when you do the mission work, when you do the work inside, because when you're helping orphans especially, I think that helps you get in touch with your inner child more, and you start seeing yourself in them. So I really knew how to relate to each one. I was really connected. And when you get connected to kids from, you know, 15, 20 different countries, it really helps you connect to adults. And I think that was my secret sauce when I started coaching people, because I'd get all ethnicities and they'd say, oh my God, you get me, you get my culture. Yeah, I lived in your culture. Yeah, I lived there, I lived there, I lived there. Or I worked with people. So it wasn't just going to a 5-star hotel, going to the finest restaurants and the tourist spots and coming home. It was diving deep into the issues of the country and how to help solve them, and working, you know, mind, body, heart, soul with these people. And then through that you meet people, and it takes you on this journey, this fabulous tapestry, which reminds us how we're all connected and we're all one big tapestry creating our stories, and they all intertwine. So if you're not doing that and you're staying in your little corner and saying, I'm going to keep all my yarn or whatever, it's like you're going to get depression, you're going to feel left out, you're not going to feel connected. And I was reading about loneliness, and they said loneliness is popping up so strongly now, everyone who's isolated, and then the self-loathing, and then if you're with people, beating up your spouse or your children, or aggression or alcoholism is on the rise. But if you just go in and say, oh, what can I do for people? Even now what you're doing with this class and me now working with people again, it's about connection and getting to your higher self again and getting to know who you are. So you've got to do the work. You can't escape it. So many people who are successful are so unhappy or commit suicide or whatever because they haven't done the work. So it's not about success. It's about building you. Who are you going to be? Master your life. You master other people's lives. You become a blessing in the world instead of a taker.
So I'm going to open it up for Q&A here in just a minute, but I'm going to mention a couple of things, resources for people, and ask you a couple more questions, but then we're going to have Q&A. But you've been in 3 of the books. One was Purpose, Passion, Profit. And we're not going to tell that story now, but I encourage you guys to go read Lisa's story. She talks about her upbringing and how strict it was, like beyond strict, her running away from home, but eventually going to Iraq to confront Saddam Hussein. It's a crazy, crazy story. All kinds of serendipitous meetings, and just an amazing story. When she talks about making your first movie and raising $1 million. You're in Japan and you're a model. And again, crazy story. And there's so much, so many takeaways. And we're not going to go there today because we've done it at a lot of inner circles. But I encourage people to go read those stories in the Resilience book or Purpose, Passion, Profit. But we also talk about it on the podcast when I interviewed you guys, So go listen to the podcast with me and Lisa. We do a deep dive, and also about your time with Madonna and so many other stories. One thing I want to bring up, and this is what I love about this group, it's what I love about you, is, you know, we have a group, and don't ask me why, but I simultaneously started a Dallas group and a Los Angeles group, right? 5 years ago. And talk about 2 diverse groups, spiritually, politically. And when a great person that comes to mind is Tim Cole. Tim spoke earlier today, and it was just amazing what he shared on. And then you're in the thick of Hollywood, right? And supporting Marianne Williamson. And when you guys met, you loved each other. And that continues to be the thread of the inner circle, is we don't always have to agree on things. And people are so open-minded. They're not locked into what they believe. They honor what other people believe as well. And they're able to have intelligent conversations. And I don't see that that's always the case, but it sure seems to be among this group. And I just want to congratulate you for having that type of mindset, because I really,
important. Oh,
Yes.
I'm just saying it's so important today. I'm in conversations with people, especially now, and the Democrats, a lot of my closest friends are like roar against everything. I'm like, calm down. If you cannot have an open mind to listen to somebody else, then why do you expect someone to listen to you? Everyone has a right to their own beliefs and opinion, and nobody's right and nobody's wrong. It's just what is. They're really, what's the answer? I mean, you have to be open and look at each situation of each cause of what's important to you and vote for whatever is right for you, and let the cards fall where they may, because there's no right or wrong. It's just opinions.
And that helps me trust someone. If I see someone is not 100% focused on just one thing, and no matter what truth or information you give them, they're going to spin it to only see it from their way. I just don't trust them. It's not like I can have a conversation, but if someone's willing to say, I love this about this person, but I don't like this about this person.
Right.
And this other person, I don't really care for them, but yeah, they did a couple of good things. If someone can do that, I'm like, okay, I would trust to have an open conversation and be a little bit vulnerable and go there, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I've always seen, I remember once you were describing Donald Trump. This is a couple of years ago in LA. And I thought you gave one of the best descriptions I've ever heard. It was just very fair. And I could just see where you were coming at it. It wasn't from a bias standpoint, but it was just kind of on the mark. And so again, I love that about you, and love that about this whole group that we have.
Yeah, I think you could learn from everyone. I think I learned that through my travels, because I came across so many different value systems, the Middle East, from Amsterdam to Japan, and geishas and Bedouins. I was coaching a family of 4 husbands or whatever, and all 4 or 5 wives for each one. They said, what is a coach? So I said, okay, I'm going to take you through a session, because they said Americans are crazy. I'm like, no, this is what we do. And we had a good time. But it's like how they treat their women, so you just have to be open to it and just say, okay. And the women are saying, oh, we love our hijabs. And it's like, no, you really don't, but they do, probably because that's all they know. And that's their sign of self-respect. And it's like, oh, I never looked at it from that perspective of that's how they were, brought up, and that's their dignity, so it's, you just open your eyes, you go to Amsterdam and go, oh, wow, a whole new world here, or, Paris or Barcelona, all the beaches, everyone's topless and naked, and here you can't. In the Middle East, so you start going, oh, everyone is unique. And that's what makes the world so beautiful. Let everyone be whoever they want to be, and don't judge others. And when you could come from that mindset, you could have anyone sit in front of you and you could see who they are. You could truly see their soul, not their personality and all their fears and all that. You just say, oh, interesting, because it bump, they think this way. You could just start dissecting, and then you could work with them on that, because that escalates into any problem when you're working with someone in relationship. This person's wrong, and da 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 da, and they're building their case, but the other person has stuff also. Like, I could build a case with my husband and he could build a case against me, right. But it's like no one's right or wrong. It's just, especially now, being open to whatever the universe puts in front of you, and be open-minded to all conversations, because that's how you learn and grow.
Yeah, it's something, I'm trying to think of the name of the book. Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. She talks about every relationship's a mirror back to us at the end of the day.
Yes.
And whatever we focus on is, something could be 90% great and 10%. I remember this with Jim Rohn. I compared it to a pizza. So here's this pizza, and 90% was great, but there was about a 10% slice that kind of irked me, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure it did for him too. And then what I realized is the bigger our business got, the bigger that slice got. So it's not that percentage-wise things got worse. It was still that same 10%, but it became bigger. He would turn down book deals. He wouldn't let me take him to network marketing companies. It just got so big, but yet our business was booming and life was great. But it's so easy to get caught up on the 10% and miss the 90%.
Yes.
As things expand and get better, so does that 10% sometimes.
Absolutely.
But not percentage-wise.
Yeah, you have to look at what are your buttons, what triggers you. And if you can do that mindfully, wow, you know, especially in isolation or with a few people that you're locked up with, you just say, okay, where's that trigger? And you, instead of reacting, take a moment to dig in and then respond, because otherwise it could become chaos. And I think we're all going to see a lot of that coming up in September, October, November. So it's a time to just
that is this year, isn't it? That yeah, it is crazy. The corruption out there when it comes to all that stuff, but we won't go there. So here's the next thing. I'm going to ask you another question. That I want to open it up to Q&A, but you've helped me in the past when it came to morning routines. And I think with you, everything's pretty fluid. So you're not locked into the same routine for 5 years, but at the time you were very much into affirmations. You were listening to certain YouTube videos, you were journaling, you really had this thing about clearing out the stuff that didn't serve you well. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think the morning is obviously the most important part of your day. You could either set yourself up for success or failure. If I don't do my morning ritual, like especially now, the whole day will go by. Somehow I'll turn on the news, I'll take calls from friends. I've got 4 sisters, all of them are calls. So I've got really about 30 calls for my birthday. I have about 100 calls. I have a birthday call me. I'm like, I can't call all these people back, you know, my whole day. But several days I did that because I didn't do my morning. I just said, oh, let me just get up and go do this. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting. If I don't set myself up, the day goes if it's not in my calendar. And even this, I thought this was the days mixed up because I didn't write it down. I just said, oh, I'll remember it. All of a sudden, poof, the day was gone. And yeah, so I do this. This is my office. I don't know if you could see. Like,
yeah.
Those are my affirmations on the poster board.
Oh, hold on, leave it there. Leave it there. I'm going to take a screenshot.
Wait, I can't hear you. So.
Oh, I was saying I'm going to take a screenshot. Okay. So just not to copy it, but, and I already have. But just
okay.
for the visual of it, that's.
Yeah, and there is my vision board. There's a vision board, if you could see that.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, look, I wrote London calling, and then London called and gave me my first big job last year. So yeah, I think this is really important. And then just putting sayings, you know, treat yourself as if you were someone inexpressibly dear to you. You know, stop, observe, understand, liberate. And then just saying all your affirmations every day. So I come in here, that's the first thing I do. Well, I wake up and I do my meditation, and then I come in here and I say, okay, who am I? Who do I want to be today? What do I want to accomplish? Then I set up my word, and my word now is tender, because I think we all have to be more tender with ourselves. We have to, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We have to be more gentle with ourselves. So I switch words every week. So now it's tender. And so I'm going, what can I do that's tender this week? You know, so, and I write down my dreams, because I think your dreams are really important. So I don't do that all the time, but that's what I'm doing right now. Since COVID, I thought, oh, let me write these dreams down. So waking up right away, I write down my dream. Then I do a meditation. And then I look at my calendar and say, what is my calendar today? And then I put what's important and what's really not. And what do I want to get accomplished? Mind, body, heart, soul. Then I put on my clothes and I go out that door and do my 2-mile walk. Otherwise it won't happen. And then I come back and sit at my desk and do my work. And then I put blocks of time of when I speak with people, because it got overwhelming of just throughout the day interruptions.
Yeah. I would tell the story sometimes. Ever since I've known you, you've taken in, you know, people that were in need, right? You do have this big heart of, whether it was someone homeless or whatever it was, right? You made a commitment in December you were going to stop doing that. Have you been able to take that break of not always being the person that takes in
Well, David needed a place, so he stayed here until a week ago. So,
Okay.
yeah, so he's been here, so now he's gone
Okay.
back to Arizona. So now I have just me and Ava. So
So yeah, this is the inner circle. So we kind of go there. So you have a unique situation. You and Lee have like 3 homes.
mhm.
You have one, he has one, then you both have one.
Yeah,
And that's kind of just works for you guys.
yes, yes. And now we're like separated, but we see each other all the time.
Yeah.
We're, yeah. So especially now, it's like what are you going to do? So,
Well, you
we're
have
both,
COVID disease, right? And so he's like,
exactly.
he's
And
like,
I think now we're all hunkering in, and family's important, and we're keeping Ava stable and all that kind of stuff. So it works, but I think you got to create what works for you. Nothing works for everybody. I wouldn't recommend it for everybody.
yeah.
It's just, it's different personalities and whatever it is you need now.
Yeah. And his business, it's pretty eccentric, right? When you write for sitcoms and you create them and it's crazy hours, you guys are very different
Yeah,
in
and he's an
a lot of
extreme
different ways.
introvert. So when you're with someone who's an introvert, most of the time, and I'm a introvert that really does extrovert well. So we got along on that, slice. It's like the part of the Venn diagram we got along with, but then the rest, no. So so that's what I'm talking about doing the meditations. When I start going, who am I? What do I want? And I wrote down my values and who because you keep growing and changing when you're somebody that, dives deep into life. So who am I today? Who am I today? And when he did his, we're like, oh, wow, it's very different. So instead of staying gripped to the shore, no, I'm afraid of change. It's like, let's let go and see what happens. So.
And I'll also say I've been to some of your charity parties that you and Lee have put on, and they're amazing, right? You have you're raising money, Whispers for Children's Heart, that is your charity, and you have A-list Hollywood people there. And I think that is, I know that's probably mostly you, but he's definitely a part of that too, right? And so that is a good collaboration.
I'll help fund it, and you'd be the face because he doesn't want to be that as much, but he'll show up a little bit, but he won't, So it works. We were a good team, and we still are a good team. And we are a good team, and we're both committed to being a great team moving forward.
Yeah, love that.
Just in a different way. You got to understand in relationships, instead of, again, what can I get? What can you give? And when you release expectations of the other person, that's where we're at now. There's no expectations because we're separated. It's like we get along so much better because it's not like, oh, you need to be here, I'm going out, or come to dinner with me here, or these people. He doesn't have to do that anymore. So now it's just, let us enjoy us, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, fantastic. That's good.
Yes.
So let's open it up for Q&A if anyone has a question for Lisa. And Lisa, I'm always really patient on these. So because sometimes it takes, it takes a little time for people to process what they would ask. But you might have to unmute yourself if you have a question. And you guys all know Lisa, so jump in.
Hey Lisa, it's Seth. That was a great talk. Really enjoyed it. Just a question about the visuals. It sounds like you're very visual, like the background where you had the vision board and the affirmations and everything. How often do you update that?
I don't have a specific time, just when I feel like, oh, I've gotten that quality. So now I don't need to say it. It's like part of me. It's in my cells. And I feel like, oh, that's not me anymore. This is more important now. So I kind of balance it. So it changes. Mm-hmm. But I'd say every 3 months or so, like every quarter. And then I feel you are the 5 closest people you hang out with. So I also have this, like, so when I'm at my desk, I'm looking at this. Here are my legacy leaders that I love. Wow. So I've got Gandhi, Simone de Beauvoir, Oprah, Herman Hesse, Anais Nin. And then I've got up here, Audrey Hepburn, Mama Angelina, Marilyn, Eve Ensler, Picasso, Tracy Chapman. So as I'm sitting here, I get inspired by them, or I play their music, or I read their books, read a chapter or read a paragraph, because I think that helps you stay in touch, because I think each one of them has a quality that I like and that I want to embrace. So if I'm looking at them, it stays in your consciousness, especially in COVID. So these are my buddies that I hang out with, and I have their books here, and yeah. And that shifts a little bit sometimes too.
Thanks, Sep. Questions for Lisa?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. I'm a very big Byron Katie fan. I'm actually leading a circle right now on loving what is. And so I was just curious, like, you know, based on your interview with Byron Katie, like, what was your biggest takeaway from that? If you don't want to share, you don't have to.
Oh no, of course I'll share. My biggest takeaway, God, there are so many, but I think I've met her a couple of times in the past, but I never got to sit with her for 2 hours. And her inner beauty, she really is, she walks her talk. She really is her work. And she's so honest about who she is, her flaws, her past, her struggles today. You know, I asked her, I said, are you cured? Can you just do the work, ask the 4 questions and everything's healed, like you say in your books, you know, just work on it. She goes, are you kidding me? I work on it all the time. Just this morning, I had this and I had that. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. So it's, it reminded me that we're all on a journey. The journey never ends unless you want to end. You could die while you're still alive. If you say, I'm sick of growing, I'm sick of learning, then you're dead. So she says, as long as you're growing, learning, having adventures, you will have to do this work. Sometimes daily. She said sometimes she has to do it 6 or 7 times a day at her age, in her 80s, and she's been doing this work forever, because she says there's constantly something coming at her, a constant new trigger. Because when you work on an issue, it works on the, you know, just the surface level. And then each time it keeps going down, 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 down. Sometimes when I've worked with someone for 2 years, where we get in 2 years from the beginning is a huge, vast difference, because it's so hard to open up and really trust in the beginning. And then once you get more comfortable of revealing yourself, that's where the miracles come in. And that's what she's a master at.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Pretty background.
I took that picture. That's Denali.
Oh, gorgeous. Yes. So do you have another question about her or anything? Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Lisa? And I have questions, so, but I'm going to give you guys a chance first.
Lisa, I have a question for you. Thanks so much for sharing, first of all. So one of the things that you mentioned is, you know, being an overachiever and feeling like sometimes you have to be superwoman and needing to have this balance. And I've gotten a lot better at that at times, but there's seasons when there's no balance and there's just a lot. And then I think, okay, I need self-care. I need time for me. So I'm curious, when you get to those places, and like you just had a few weeks where you had to self-care, what questions do you ask yourself, or what exercises do you do to say, is this time for me to stop self-caring, and am I becoming maybe complacent and maybe, you know, need to get out there and start doing more, or do I need more time for self-care? How do you ask yourself those questions and decide you've had enough and you don't need, you know, as much downtime?
Yeah, I was just coaching someone. She's a super high achiever, and I mean, she's amazing. And I said, what do you really want in life? And then she said, oh, I want to meet my soulmate. When do you put that in your schedule? Never. So she's so busy creating all over the world and buying up properties and hotels and interior design and architecture and fashion and all this stuff, that I said, okay, if you want that, you've got to create that. So good questions are, again, in your meditation, just put a focus on, where am I supposed to be? You know, am I happy? You know, just think about that. Or where aren't I happy? And when you meditate on that, then have a journal and just start writing those down. And then what I also do is a mind dump. Just sit there and get everything in your mind and get it on paper, because when it's up here, you can't think clearly. And then you're always busy. I'm busy. I'm busy. I'm busy. And busyness isn't achieving something. Usually busyness is laziness, because you want to, oh, I'm busy, that means I'm powerful, I've got this or that, but it's really a distraction. So when you could really calm your mind and do the meditation, do a mind dump, and think about who are you, because you're not your mind, you're not your body. Who are you? Who is your soul? What is your soul's mission? Why did you come to earth? What did you want to do? And once you get that answer, which doesn't always come right away, but you just keep focusing on it, your whole life starts to unfold in a way that takes you to a place where you're not always so busy, but you're being productive and you have balance, mind, body, heart, soul. That's what this documentary I'm doing is, because I saw so many people, my high-powered friends and super successful people, never had the balance, and they're always in different versions of chaos, or they get bipolar, temperamental, and lashing out a lot because the smallest thing that doesn't go right, they go rah, because they're so busy, and they get used to being catered to so much that they can't handle any flaws in anybody around them. So it's like a constant reminder of, wait, who are you? Is this who you want to be? You have this job or this mission, and this is who you are behind the scenes. You got to look into that. Yeah. So just looking at that and investigating your mental state, what's going on, and, how am I spending my time, and why am I choosing these things? Look at all the options we have to do each day. Why are you choosing those things to put into those placeholders?
Yeah, no, that's good. I think I've kind of gone through that process a lot, and now I'm giving myself a lot more time to be. And there's times when I'm like, okay, I gotta get out and do something. Like I'm taking too much time to be,
You'll find the balance. You'll find the balance, but it's good. Sometimes it's good to go overboard so you could really start to feel the results of that. When I was doing the COVID thing, I went to silence and I went, wow, I didn't realize how badly I needed this. The stress, even if it's positive stress that was building up in me, that it gave me so much more clarity. And I thought, oh, even for my project now, I could write more clearly the openings instead of just get it done, boom, 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 got a timeline. And so you'll find the balance, but it's good to start someplace. And that's a great place to start.
And I'm going to speak on Anna. So Anna was a full-time job, full-time mom, running multiple businesses, incredible stuff. She finally retired from her job, and she listed this week on Facebook everything she accomplished this week. And she got more done in a week than most people get done in a year. And I think, but here's the thing, Jim Rohn would say, some people you got to say slow down, some people you got to say speed up. But at the end of the day, you just got to find what makes you happy.
Right.
And sometimes people, because Anna, you just get so much done, and certainly you got to take care of yourself, but you'll find whatever that looks like. Right. But
I'm a lot closer to that now than I was a year ago. And I feel pretty good, but I'm so uncomfortable being comfortable and not being productive that I still shift to I need to be more productive, even though I feel like I'm at a good place. So I just need to let myself have those times when I'm not super productive, I think.
What did you get done this week?
Oh my God. If she
I bought some
lists 5 things of the 20th, they're huge. Yeah, go ahead. What are they?
Well, I bought some properties. I sold some properties, spent a lot of great time with the kids. I decided to finally launch my coaching program that I had Kyle told me rein it in about a year ago. And I'm like, I'm at a place where now I'm excited about it, and it feels, life-giving. So I got ready to do all that, and, just that kind of stuff.
You listed like 20 things, Anna. It was crazy. Everything she accomplished. It was just like crazy.
Yeah, so you look at that and say, was this really important for me to accomplish, or would I like to have done something else during this time? Does this really make me happy? Why am I doing this? Is this really my heart and soul, or is it just a job where I'm used to it, or I'm on the treadmill of this, direction? And once you do that, your life starts to, downsize, and you get 3 core things that you go, these are the 3 things I'm going to focus on, and let everything else fall away, because you can't do everything at once well.
Right. So, that's where I am. That's where I am.
Yeah. But you'll find it. Seems like you're on the journey. Yeah.
One of them was singing at church. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the other was, I noticed she posted that at 2:30 in the morning. So that tells you something too. So busted, right? Okay.
Yes.
Thanks, Anna.
Thanks.
Sophia, you have a question, right?
I do. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Thank you. Here's my question. I selfishly am excited to see your documentary because of all these greats, and this is my belief that when I tell people to look at greats, it's to not look at them that they went from zero to where they are overnight. I call it the wounded healer. We all have unique gifts, and so there's this wounded healer journey that gets them to that place. So the question is, my curiosity, as all these beautiful beings that you were able to interview, did you see that with every person, like the way they came into their greatness and expressed it? Did they all have a wounded healer's journey to get to where they are, and to learn as to what it is that they're going to teach in this lifetime?
I think every single person on this planet has a wounded healing journey. I think every person. Yes.
Me too.
Yeah, and I think that is what helps motivate and drive them. And then that's their mission. So
Okay.
yeah, everyone I talk to, this happened and that happened. So they created something to heal that aspect of them, and that became their mission.
So what do you think is that link, the bridge, though? Because I too believe that we all are on this journey, but what is it that takes them to that other level to really choose that path? It's that bridge to choose it and to really be it and live it fully.
Well, everyone I talked to, including myself, we didn't really choose the path. We kind of stumbled into it. We did action steps. Like I just started traveling because it took me out of my head, and I got exposed to other people. And then somehow I decided to go to the orphanage, and then I got absorbed in that. And I said, oh, and let me just see what other ones are like. And then that led to everything who I am today, the book, the speaking, the everything. So like same with Jack Canfield, he said the same thing. He was trying to heal himself, and boom, 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 one thing led to another. And that's where he ended up. So it really does, depend on the person. But I think what turns it into greatness is that moment when you start feeling, oh, I'm on fire now, or this really excites me. Like the orphanages really excited me. I felt so alive, and I felt like I was doing something positive that I had to then let me write a book and put it out there. So the passion behind it, but you can't get that passion unless you're tapped into what it is that really drives you, and you have to stumble and fall a little bit to get there. Or you just keep taking chances, or you say, oh, I'm not happy with my life, I'm going to stop everything cold turkey and I'm going to find what that happiness is. Then you find it. But if you're just always too busy or thinking with your head, you'll never find it. All these people that I talked to didn't think with their mind. They lived a life that would open up the doors for that to happen. It's like the analogy of a traveler or tourist. They just said, let me see what falls in front of me. When I travel, I never have an itinerary. It's a running joke with me and my husband, because I always get him. He reads the let's go before we go there. We got to go here, here, here. I say, no, I want to know nothing. I want to go there as an open slate, meet who I'm supposed to meet, just travel and, tumble into things. And then on the way home, I'm reading about everything. Oh, when I go back to Cuba, I need to do da, 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 da. And he's like, you're supposed to do that beforehand. But to me, that's structuring a trip, though. And I think I love the unknown, and I love how random people you meet change your life forever. And if I'm too scheduled, especially on traveling, I'm not going to meet those people or allow that to unfold. So everyone I talked to did have that in common, of they allowed whatever to unfold in front of them instead of, setting themselves up for success. It just sort of happened. And they said, oh, now I've got this. How do I manage it and build it? And when you manage and build it, the right people come to you to help you when you're ready.
Yes.
Build it, they will come.
Yes.
So we got time for one or two more questions. Andrew, I see you wrote a question, but I'd prefer hearing you or Marissa ask it. So if you could
Yes,
ask.
yes, I wrote it. Hopefully the lawnmower in the background. It's the best day that we've had all day in Ohio, so we had to come out all year. Sorry, all year. It's the best day all day. Lisa, so my question, I love meeting people. Okay? I'm a connector because I like to meet new people and hear their stories and whatnot. One of the things that I've invariably always struggled with is when I meet a new person, I want to learn from them, but sometimes they actually have nothing of value to say other than don't become like that person. How have you learned to balance being completely open and sincere and in love with the person that you just met, while also still protecting your inner core beliefs of who you are and what's foundationally made who you are?
Well, I believe we're all one. That's kind of sounds cliche-ish, but I feel everyone I meet is an aspect of me. And if I don't believe their core beliefs, that means something inside me is not open, or that's a injury or something I have inside. So I want to look at it. Why does that push my buttons so much that they do this or do that? You know, if they drink too much, and I'm like, oh, you know, they hide behind that. Or, okay, why don't I embrace that? Or if their political beliefs or their whatever sexual beliefs or whatever is different from mine, I try not to judge them. I try to learn from them and say, oh, let me dive into your world and see where you got those thoughts. And I found that always helps open up my mind. And I could look at someone as a, you know, a being, you know, a God's baby, not just, you know, a person to judge. And when you have that perspective, you could travel anywhere and you fit in anywhere. I have family everywhere, from the crazies to the conservatives to everything. So yeah, but I think that's what life's about. You're not meant to live in one box. And that's what I love about traveling. You could sit on your sofa the rest of your life and just watch TV and judge people for doing things. Oh, look at them, or look what they're doing. Look at the Kardashians, look at the, you know, whoever. But if you don't do anything, you don't have a right to do that. Get in the game. So I'm in the game. So when you're in the game, you understand people change, people have issues, they deal with problems differently, they've had different upbringings. So you just accept them on their level and their playing fields, and then ask questions and you go, oh, okay. And you learn, why do I have a prejudice against this? Let me find out why.
Beautiful. Ethel, you have a question?
Kyle, I can't. Can you hear me?
Yes. Welcome.
Lisa. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
I just want to know, with all of that you have going on, you and your husband, how do you keep Ava balanced?
She stays with me most of the time, but he comes over almost every night at 7. So we have like a schedule, and then she'll stay with him every other weekend if that happens, or one weekend a month. But she's a very grounded, stable person because we're so connected, me and Lee. We're committed to loving each other and being a family. And I think it takes two to be that way. And we've talked about it, like she didn't even know we were separating. She just found out like a couple months ago, and it's been really about a 2-year process. So we're very good at what's best for her. And we've always lived separately, so it's not like it's, oh my God, someone's moving out and it's dramatic. So, and she always lived with me, so nothing's changed.
Thank you.
Yeah, your daughter's amazing. You know, she has sat in the inner circles that we did at your house, and it's almost like you've always treated her like an adult in a way. But that's, again, we'll save that topic for another time, but incredible. I know Paul, all the way in the UK, wants to ask a question. Paul, by the way, swam the English Channel. That's pretty cool.
Oh, wow. Hey,
Paul.
Always fascinating people in this group.
Incredible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Lisa. Yeah. I'm sitting here some 6,000 plus miles away from you, and I have to hold my hand up and say, being so far away, I've never seen you before on anything, so this is the first time for me. And I can also say I can sit here and listen to you all day. It's fascinating. So much so that I'm intrigued to know why you think that you're an introvert, because everything I hear from you is so full of life and bubbly and enthusiastic. That seems the complete opposite to me as to why you would call yourself an introvert.
Yeah, interesting, huh? I was one of 5 girls, and I was the shy one. If you said hello to me, I would hide behind my mom's skirt and turn red. And I'm really, until I was 12 or 13 years old, it was like, just don't ask me questions and just ignore me. I want to be invisible. So that's why.
Right.
So I think that's that's my core. But once, I've told the story a million times with you guys of once my father, I was baking a cake and I came home and he pulled a gun on me. You could read it in the story. When I was 16, everything changed, everything shattered. I went, oh, this was the safety zone and this is my world. So that's when I said, who am I? What am I supposed to do? And I became fearless. And when you're fearless, you can do anything because nothing scares you. So that's when I started hitchhiking and doing all this and meeting all these crazy people from all these different walks of life. And that's when I started loving everyone, because I had such an open heart. Because before I was, oh, you can't marry this person, you can't marry this, and you can't do this, you can't do that. And everything was, Christian and Middle Eastern way of thinking. And I just thought, wow, all of that's a lie, because this person's awesome. And this person is homeless, living in a, just like, I don't know, it was like an underground kind of apartment thing, like a cave thing in San Diego with roaches everywhere, and Rastafarian. And he was like so amazing. He was like Jesus coming to me and talking to me. Like if I met him, I would say, oh, look at him. And just some of the people who picked me up that were just downtrodden. And so you start opening up and going, oh, maybe there's a different way to live. Maybe everyone has a journey. Maybe everyone's important and everyone has a contribution. And it doesn't matter if you're rich or you're poor or what color your skin is or what nationality or what religion or political party you're at. It doesn't matter. It's just we're all on a journey, and whoever you meet is supposed to teach you something. So I look at you right now and go, oh, you're my teacher. And I talk to you as if you're my teacher, even if I'm sharing, going, why did he ask that question? What's on that mind? How many other people have that question? And if he has that question, and so I start to try to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, because I do think we're all one, and we're all meant to kind of grow and weave our lives together, not beat each other up and criticize. But I do have strong beliefs too, but I am open to any belief. I could be, I could shift depending on the different sensibilities or situations. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, we've referenced some of your stories, Lisa. So I grabbed the books real quick. You're in 3 of the books. One is Purpose, Passion, Profit. And again, Seth Mosley, Robert Helms, there's probably 20 people on this call that are in one of these books. Resilience, turning your setback into a comeback. And the Don't Quit book we most recently released. And Todd, who was with us yesterday, is in this book. And Robert Alt, the founder of LA Music. And the thing about these, I really want people to read the stories. If you don't have them, there's kind of a hidden page on my website. You can go download them for free. And it's kylewilson.com/resources. Now there's a bunch of older stuff on there, like when it says Darren Hardy interview, that's one I did 5 years ago. That's not the new one on the podcast. It's an old Brian Tracy interview, different than the new one on the podcast. But you can go download any of these books. But yeah, go check out Lisa's stories, all 3 of them. Lisa's incredibly interesting. And so we never talk about the same thing. I never know where it's going to go. In closing, Lisa, I do want to ask you about affirmations, because I know in the past you were very big into you had your list of affirmations. Was that a season, or is that still something you
the ones I showed you up here? All of those, in the pink, the green, the yellow, all of those. So I just say those. I sit here and I say them every morning. I write them down and I try to become them, because it's one thing to just get a book of affirmations. I want to be a millionaire. I want to be happy, or I want to meet my soulmate. But it's another when you write down, I call them declarations, because I take the time to do my mind dump in my meditation. Then I say, what's bothering me, or what triggered me today, or whatever. And then you do a self-forgiveness on that. Then you write an affirmation a new declaration of who you want to be instead of being triggered, who do you want to be. So all of mine are very personal. I think when they're personal, they really help you compared to, oh, affirmations don't work, or I tried them, it didn't work for me. It's because they're not related to you. They're just generic. So once you could anchor it into something, kind of what Ron White does with the memory.
Yeah.
You know, when you anchor it to a story, you get it, you can memorize it. So I can never memorize. You know, before he came here to do all the presidents, I said, oh, I'm going to try to memorize him before he gets here. Then David laughed and said, you'll never be able to, you can't remember. And then I was going, this is hard, I can't even get 10 down. And then when he attached it to a story, I could say them now. It's just easy because I go around my house and a story is attached to each thing. So that's the same as these declarations. They won't work for you unless you really relate it to your personal story. And then you have an investment in it. So I suggest that, yeah.
Yeah, so you have the vision board, but then you also read them, write them down, and you do it more than once a day, or?
Oh, when I just started, I did them 3 or 4 times a day. Definitely before I wake up and before I go to bed. I read them. I put it on my phone on voice memos. I listen to it when I walk, and then I write them down. Especially if I'm going, God, I'm really messed up now. This just threw me for a loop. It's like, okay, get back to who you are. Just brainwash yourself. This is who you are. It's not that when you want to react to a certain situation.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today, taking a Saturday afternoon and getting with us today. Let's give Lisa a huge hand, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Lisa, it's great to reconnect. We've been doing Tuesday night calls if you ever want to join us.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's see. There you go. You got muted somehow. But Lisa, thanks so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. We'll talk
Bye.
soon.
Yes. Thanks.